Hey guys, what's up? It's Deprimido. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in FL Studio and we're going to be breaking down young pinch type beats. By the way, you might have noticed over the past couple videos I'm doing a lot of beats that I've made before. I'm usually making these in preparation for the video a couple days before. So let me know if you like that, or if you guys prefer me making the beats in the video, I can also do that. Generally though, if I'm breaking down multiple beats in a video, I probably will make them in advance, but just let me know what you guys prefer. So with young pinch beats, it's definitely more about the vibe than anything else really. Usually most artists just kind of use the beat as a backdrop for their vocals, but I feel like it's very different with young pinch. Usually I feel like he's kind of just treating his vocals more so as another element that's getting added into the beat, and I really like that. I think it creates a cool style and a different sound that's kind of original, and it's cool. By the way guys, make sure you go follow me on Instagram. When I reach 2,000 followers, I'm dropping a free MIDI kit, so definitely go do that. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the beat. I'm going kind of with the slower range, so I'm down here at 135. You don't want to have anything too fast because it's just a little too high energy and aggressive for these type of laid back beats, and you don't want it to be too slow because that just doesn't give it enough energy and then it kind of just falls flat. So first off, let's jump into this melody. I just laid out this melody right here. It's not too complicated. We just kind of start off with some chords and then we added in a few notes here and there to kind of give it some drive, but it's not like we really have any sort of top line, and we don't really have just a chord structure base either. You want these melodies to be very laid back and chill. After all, young pinch is the Beach Boy, so you kind of also want it to have a tropical vibe. It's just going to be very laid back, also kind of ambient, and sometimes it's kind of sad or melancholy. Usually the best instruments to go for are going to be things like synths, so different bells, pads, keys. You can also use some guitars and stuff, but that's not super common. This is the melody that I laid out. I made sure to use a sound that didn't have too much attack. That's also going to help with the ambient kind of vibe. Then I also threw halftime on it. I switched it to 2 bars, and then I just turned down the mix to about 75%. Then I also put halftime on it. I set it to loop every 2 bars, and then I also turned down the mix a little bit. This gives our melody more of a bassy tone, and it also slows it down a little bit so that it doesn't feel too rushed or anything. With the halftime, it sounds like this. Halftime is something that you're going to hear a lot on these beats, so definitely play around with that or use gross beat if you don't have halftime. With these melodies, you usually don't want to make it too complicated. I wasn't really feeling any more instruments at this point, so I just added in this kind of ambient effect from Expand. Sounds like this. This kind of has a crescendo or like a rising sound to it, so it definitely kind of helps it jump over each time that the halftime loops. It also just pushes it along a little bit and gives it a little bit more energy without adding anything too crazy. I just made sure to mix it really low down here so that it wouldn't be overtaking or anything. You kind of want it to be more felt than heard. Then after that, I just wanted one more melodic component, so I added in this arp. As you can see, the only note that it is playing is C, but it's jumping up all the way up to 4 octaves. Originally, it sounds like this. But I didn't really think that sounded good. Obviously, it kind of takes away from the ambient sound of this melody, so I jumped into some effects for it. First off, I used halftime. This is just the default preset that it opens up to. Then I just added some reverb to put it a little bit more in the background. Then I threw on this effect, which is one of my favorites recently. It's called Dr. Device. It's just a filter that moves around and kind of has some weird effects to it. So I just threw that on and played around with it a little bit. And then I threw on an EQ. With the halftime, it had a lot of low frequencies that was kind of clashing, and it wasn't really necessary for this sound, so I just cut those out. With the effects, it sounds like this. Obviously it's mixed pretty low. It's not a super main element of the melody, but I did think it just gives it some drive that it needed and makes it sound a little bit better and more interesting. With these melodies, you don't really want too much going on. Kind of the main thing that you're trying to do is just paint a soundscape. You don't want to have anything really sticking out or that's too like obvious what's going on. You kind of just want it to be very laid back. So next, let's move into these drums. You're mainly going to want to be using either snares or claps. Claps are a little bit more prominent in his recent music, and there's a lot more trap snares in some of his older cuts. I decided to go with a snare. Sounds like this. with these young pinch beats, you don't really want to use snares that are like super overused or anything. Kind of want to have slightly more gritty, sharper snares. At least that's what I've noticed listening to his music. You don't have to, but just kind of do whatever you want. Next, we've got this hi-hat pattern. In these beats, you're mostly going to be hearing hi-hat patterns with a 2-step bass and then some gaps or rolls added in. As you can see, this is a pretty simple pattern, although we do have a few rolls added in here. Sounds like this. Just make sure you don't overdo it. This isn't a super important element of the beat, so just kind of have it mix in with everything else well and don't make it too prominent. Next, we can move on to our bass. In these beats, you're mostly going to be either hearing sub basses or kind of long, low 808s. I decided to go with a sub bass. Pretty simple pattern. We're mostly just following the root notes here, and then we do have just an octave slide at the end right here. You're going to want to make sure that your sound is pretty clean, not too much distortion, as you do kind of just want it to fit in the background. Sounds like this. After that, we've got our kick pattern. Overall, nothing too crazy with this. You're also going to hear this little pattern right here pretty often, starting with the kick hitting on 1 and then the 4 and the and a 4. You don't have to do that. It's just something that's pretty common in these beats and it usually works well, so give it a try. So this is what our kick pattern sounds like. This kick is a little bit more clipped than you would usually want to use, but I thought it sounded pretty good in this beat. Just make sure that your kicks are definitely really punchy. They're definitely a pretty important element of these beats. After that, we just have some perks. I started off with a counter snare. I mostly did this because I thought it worked really well with the kick pattern and it kind of just accentuated the bounce of it and made it sound better. Just make sure you don't have any like crazy snare rolls going on. That's kind of too high energy for this type of beat. And the final element that we have in here is this open hat. Again, don't go too crazy with this. The main thing I would say with your open hat patterns for these types of beats is just keep it really simple and kind of repetitive. This is one of the more repetitive elements of this beat, and it's going to be very common to just hear an open hat on the 2 of every measure like this. Here's what it sounds like. So to summarize, basically just keep your melody really simple, 2 or 3 elements, maybe 4 at the most. Make sure it's really ambient and laid back with some like tropical kind of vibes almost. And then with your drums, you're usually going to want to go with a few more elements than you usually would, but keep your patterns a little bit more simple. It'll definitely fill up the bounce, but you just don't have to go too crazy with any one thing, and that way you've got a little bit more variety and it just kind of works better for these beats. So next, let's talk about the mixing. As I said, we've got halftime here on this main pad sound. Then we've got the effects on the ARP that I already broke down. And other than that, we don't really have any other effects going on. I just kind of leveled it out and made everything balanced and sound good. If you guys want to see my full mixing tutorial, I'll link that up in the card in the corner. It's going to break it down a little bit more and kind of explain everything in depth a little bit better. After that, I just laid it out. Very simple arrangement. So really nothing crazy going on in these beats. Just keep it simple, make it spacey, make it wavy, but don't do anything too crazy. Hey, that rhymed. But yeah, guys, that's about it for this video. I'm going to play the beat at the end of it, but first I'd like to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Also, if you guys want to check out the FLPs for all the beats that I make in my videos, you can get those on my Patreon. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really supports me and I appreciate it. But if you can't do that right now, that's totally fine. But yeah, that's about it, guys. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.
How did Deprimido make this slap so hard?